Glad to have you join us back on Daybreak right here on Trust TV. Moving on to our discussion segment, and this morning we turn our focus to a subject that cuts across time, borders and generations: political leadership and legacy. Now, leadership, especially in the political space, is more than just holding office or exercising authority. It's about the choices leaders make, the values they stand for, and the impact they leave behind, not just in policies and infrastructure, but in hearts and minds of the people. Now, throughout history, we've seen leaders whose legacies have shaped nations long after they've left power, for better or worse. Some are remembered for uniting their people, building institutions, and laying strong foundations for growth. Others are recalled for missed opportunities, broken promises, or decisions that deepened divisions. But what truly defines a political legacy? Is it about achievements on paper, or about how those decisions changed our lives? And who decides? Historians, citizens, or time itself? Now, joining us this morning to help unpack these questions is someone deeply familiar with the subject, Professor Alkasum Abba, a renowned political historian and respected public affairs commentator. He'll be helping us explore how political leaders shape the future, what it takes to build a lasting legacy, and why history often remembers leaders differently from how they were seen in their time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Professor. We're super excited to have you. So quickly, let's dive into the question. You've studied and written extensively about Nigerian political history. Now, how would you define and describe a legacy in politics?
Well, you know, politics is a very important subject. It is important because it helps not only to define people, but define the nation in its direction. So people on the steering wheel in politics become important. What they did, how they did it, how they look at things, and how they provide the leadership, they are all important things. They become legacies of people. One time I gave a talk in Arewa House, and I told them that Sardauna, for example, never had a house built of blocks in Sokoto, or anywhere in Nigeria. And somebody said, okay, so if people like what do they benefit? What do they leave behind? I said, yes, that's why we still talk about Sardauna. That's why we still talk about him. I am a NEPO historian. I'm not an NPC historian. And I tell you, when I remembered when I went to the archives in London, I was looking at the documents. I was so shocked because as a NEPO historian, I used to think that everybody in MPC is a British lackey. Then I found reports of governors of northern Nigeria on Sardauna. It's from 53 up to 1960. Not a single one was positive. I was shocked that the British didn't like him. You know, when I came back, I went to Malam Liman Chiroma and asked him, I'm confused. What is the explanation for this? He said, yes, the problem the British had with Sardauna was that he was a self-opinionated person. That means every subject you put on the table, he has an opinion about it.
Okay.
And they never liked people like this. You are not supposed to have opinion. It's the British who are supposed to have an opinion, and they tell you, and you relate it. You know? And so he grew up, left those, because Malam Liman was telling me that when they were having NNDC meetings, and he just joined the Northern Civil Service as an assistant administrative officer. He said, whenever the NNDC, Sardauna was the only Nigerian on that board. And he said, what they do is they wait, people, when he's going to talk, they'll find an excuse to enter, to take tea, so that they will listen to him. And I think he had tremendous impact on people who worked with him. And he also left legacy of time. Sardauna gives you 7 o'clock. If he, in his house, when he comes out, 7 o'clock he will call you. If you are there, fine. If you are not there, your appointment is cancelled until another time. So these are things that leaders provide. When you have leaders who are not greedy, who do not, we in NEPO, we call the MPC people repressive, very undemocratic, and so on and so forth. But they were never accused of corruption, of stealing public money. And I think this is very important. You had people who are even federal ministers. Go and see the houses they built. Just mud, like any other person's house, and so on and so forth. So the political culture of that time is then the legacy they will leave behind is modesty, responsibility, not looking at yourself above anybody, and so on and so forth. And these were important to people. I remember when I read the autobiography of Yahya Kwande. I think he's still alive. He was an ADO in Kano. I think towards late 50s. He said they used to behave like Oibo. And then when they go to the palace, they will not remove their shoes. They will not squat on the floor. They will just sit like Assistant Dio. He said one day, his car broke down. He entered the palace. They had a meeting in the council chamber. His car broke down. But the tragedy was that the car broke down straight on the way the emir of Kano follows to get out. So he had to turn. And the emir didn't say anything. At the end of the council meeting, in the presence of Yahya Kwande, he called his senior son, Lamido, and rebuked him in front of Yahya Kwande. You are irresponsible. Why did you allow this to happen? And so on and so forth. Yahya Kwande said, this man didn't do anything. But that is not the story. The story is that 2 days he went back to the office. The manager of one of the companies selling cars in Kano called him to say that the emir has asked him to give him a brand new car. He said, what? Car for me? He said, no. Then what he did was, he quickly sold his car, wrote application for car loan in Premier's office, and he got it within a week. Then I think the car was either 2,500 or so, new one. So he took the money to the manager. The manager said, no, the emir didn't ask me to sell the car to you. He asked me to give you a gift. And you know, in the colonial service, they were trained that if you are senior officer, you have been given gift, there is tukunchi. Now, they were told tukunchi is the 100% value of what you are given.
Wow.
So then he had to go back to his seniors, to the European officials. What do I do? They said, if I reject it, I am disrespecting the emir of Kano, and so on and so forth. And it took a lot of negotiations and so on and so forth for the colonial administration to allow him to take the car. But you know what he said? His colleagues called him junior officer driving a senior officer's car, because it was offensive for him and his rank to drive that type of car. Now, this is the kind of legacy that we need to remember. But who cares now? You can have, what do you call it, a clerk driving a Mercedes-Benz.
That's it.
Nobody will say anything.
Professor, as aforementioned, you said that previously our leaders valued morals, being upstanding, and you know, the view in the public's eye. So what do you think has changed when it comes to, you know, being in the political scene, serving the people, and, you know, leaving a very good legacy at the end of the day?
I think what has changed is that the politics has changed from the politics of principles, programs, and ideology into politics of money. This First and Second Republics, you have this. And after the Second Republic, all politics has become politics of money, because you see, the politicians of the First Republic who were active in the Second Republic were no longer available to continue with the culture.
Okay.
So they are dead. So new politicians came up who didn't know anything about ideology, about the essence of politics. All their business is to use politics as a business. So this is where we are now. Politics is now business. It's not about public service. And that is why we need to look at this situation and we need to find a remedy to it. We cannot continue like this, that people go to office, they steal public money, use it to steal votes, go back to government. It's a vicious cycle, which we need to end. The world is moving forward. Nobody's going to wait for us. We are wasting our time.
Absolutely. And
the more we start thinking that people who are our leaders think that nobody goes to the grave with one single naira. You go the way you came.
Yes, that's true. All right, so Professor, because in this day and age, I would say the lack of morals and values has been normalized. And when it comes to a track record of leaving a legacy, most people or Nigerians would think that only leaving an infrastructure or, you know, maybe a couple of policies, that's the only thing that can be referred to as a legacy. Or why do you think there's that shift?
Because the politics, the politicians, and the political parties have no focus. Because under normal circumstances in a democracy, before you go and seek for people's vote, you must tell them what you are going to do for them.
Yes.
But it's not you who will tell it. Your party already has got a program. This is what my party stands for. All I do is I will pick aspects of these things and put them forward and practicalize them. But this is not the case now. The parties don't exist. What do you call it? I used to say that under Obasanjo, it still continues under the president. The president sacks the ruling party chairman. Appoint anyone. If you read the Obasanjo and Audu story, you laugh. Because they just call him, ask him, sign. You get out. So what kind of democracy is this? I used to say that Obasanjo was both an advantage and a disadvantage to this democratic dispensation. An advantage because when he came, he was conscious of the fact that don't isolate most of the politicians. So he brought them into his government to stabilize it. Then he himself, he does not believe in democracy. What he wants is what should happen. And that then became a disadvantage. And he's very forceful. He's a very forceful personality. If he wants something, he does it. He follows it up to the logical end.
So Professor, do you think that our politicians, you know, are not looking at chasing and leaving good legacies rather than instead, you know, they're chasing more of, you know, power and being in that space?
I even get amazed that people who are even old, they are still preoccupied with accumulating money. And you wonder, what are they going to do with this? I expect that such people should focus on leaving something behind. You know, we still talk about Murtala. I remember I was an undergraduate student when he was head of state. And when Murtala was going to make a speech at 7 o'clock in our hostel, from 6 o'clock, everybody's radio is on, waiting for him to make a speech. And also how when you go to bus station, people line up. There is nobody. You know, under Buhari, it was Buhari military regime. They force you. Under Murtala, nobody forced you to do this. Because there was high respect for the political leadership. Very high respect for
You
that.
have to set an example
Yes,
for
yes.
the people to follow.
Yes. And when they are not providing leadership, then it becomes a problem. First, the party is supposed to provide the guidance. Then the elected officials of the party are supposed to defend the philosophy of the party. But you now have National Assembly, which doesn't do anything, unfortunately, because I gave, I think, a seminar to Northeast legislators, I think under Buhari, and in Bauchi, and I told them that if you legislators, you allow soldiers to come and take over the government, we will not allow the soldiers to only arrest governors and presidents and deputies. They will arrest you people too, who will demand for your arrest, because you are supposed to be monitoring government, but they are not monitoring government. And sometimes when even they are going for monitoring, the monitoring organization pays their air tickets, provide them accommodation, and so on and so forth. So the whole idea of good governance, the whole idea of separation between the executive and legislature, the whole idea that the legislature can check the executive has collapsed. Because bad governance is also the product of lack of seriousness on the part of legislature. Because if the legislature is good, I used to tell my friends, I said, don't worry about this executive. Go and become legislators. If you are not corrupt, if half of the legislators are not corrupt, the National Assembly cannot be corrupt. But you are sitting down, even in the night, morning, it's like what my late friend Bukar Abba Ibrahim said. He wasted his time to become a governor. He quarreled with people. He had BP. But in the National Assembly, when he became a senator, he said, even when you are sleeping, money is entering your account.
Oh, wow.
He said it on the floor of Senate. And everybody kept quiet. And what we have been seeing is that a gradual decline in the quality of National Assembly, especially also in the quality of governance. Since 1999, this one is worse than the previous one, and so on and so forth. So it's a vicious cycle that we are going through. And we need to think, all of us, this is the space God has given us in this world. It is our responsibility to look after it, to protect it, and use it to live a better life. But we are unfortunately not doing this.
So, Professor, what do you think is needed to be done in order for Nigeria, should I say, to do a complete 180, even though that will be a difficult task?
Yes, it's not going to be easy, but what we need is to have political parties that are committed to the nation. And then members of that party believe in moving the country forward. Because the whole problem now is that they don't believe in anything except they go and make money. But this is limited. You can go and make money. And so what? Is it the end of the world?
So, Professor, as a father, as an educator, you have contributed in curriculum development. Do you think our educational system and our homes, really teach children and, teach children the importance of legacy?
Well, I don't know whether even if you teach them, it will have any impact. You can teach them one thing. The reality on the ground is another thing.
Absolutely.
I remember a friend of mine, I won't call his name, he became a minister. He was a lecturer. He was radical and taught students fairness and so on and so forth. Then one time his former students visited him and found him living in a mansion. And they told him, sir, this is not what you taught us. He's the one who told me this story. Yeah? And he said, sir, you taught us wrongly. So, you see, it is not what you teach in the classroom that really matters. is what happens in the real world.
Absolutely.
Because you can teach the best things, but when you go out, it's the worst things that will matter. And people will follow what matters to their lives.
All right. Shortly, Professor, just a couple of days, former President Ahmadu Buhari lost his life. But then there are lots of opinions when it comes to his term in office. A lot of people are saying positive things. A lot of people are saying negative things. In your own opinion, what kind of legacy do you think Buhari has left so far?
You know, I used to say that Buhari is the luckiest person in Nigeria. You know why?
Why?
When he was head of state, 84, 85, his regime was very repressive. And I remember in Asamaru, even women selling maize, roasting maize, kose and so on and so forth. Soldiers will come and drive them, take their thing and put in the gutter, and so on and so forth. And Nigeria went through this period of Buhari political harassment that you cannot even talk under his military regime about the political future of the country. I remember Sule Katagum had an interview in New Nigeria about the political future of the country. The government arrested Sule Katagum and arrested Buka Zarma, who was the editor of the New Nigeria, who interviewed him. So this is the man who was eased out 1985. But then he came out with a reputation, with a saintly reputation, good man, not corrupt, and so on and so forth. Part of his advantage was he was living a simple life. After he left office, his house was a small one. Even the one in Kaduna was built by his friends and so on and so forth for him because he didn't have. But so in terms of an individual not obsessed with greed, he was one of them. And this is what helped him. And the myth around him about all these things. I was one of his supporters. I voted for him 2015, I voted for him 2019, and I became very much disappointed. You know why? Because most of the people around Buhari did not believe in Buhari. They were doing what they wanted. They were stealing, but he had no capacity to prevent them from doing this. So as a leader, you are not just supposed to be, okay, I'm honest, I'm clean, I will not steal. But everybody around you is stealing and you are doing nothing about it. And this is part of his tragedy. You know, as a person, as a leader. But as a person, he was a nice man, honest man. What do you call it? You won't go and find that he has stolen money. He wouldn't steal. But what's the point? He couldn't provide the leadership needed to move the country forward.
All right, thank you so much, Professor. As you said, usually people see legacy in two different lights, whether it be objective or subjective, and it just depends on, you know, how close to home it is to you and how much impact it has on you. Thank you so much, Professor, for being here. It's always a pleasure when you're here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you
so much, Professor.
Thank you.
All right, that is all we have for this segment. Make sure you stay with us for the next segment where we'll be having our newspaper reviews. We'll be looking at the front pages of our national dailies and see what stories made it there. Don't go away.